Welcome, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us today on Empowered Confidence. I'm going to be talking through today more about what that means. And I'm going to cover the consequences of having poor confidence, the importance of, having it, what it can do for you, the positives, which I'm sure you know, but it's a good scene setter. But then I want to go through what you need to know. Why am I talking empowered confidence? And I think it's really important. Historically, people have talked about confidence. And if you've been on confidence courses, they've got you dressing, standing, talking, and whatever. And it's brilliant. Do not want to knock those. They were great, but world has evolved since then. And there's a whole neuroscience and, a belief system about what else is going on. And I want to share that with you today. The factors that that will contribute to that, and for those of you who need a quick fix, a few strategies just to get you going. If you get any questions either now or in the replay, not a problem. I will put my email at the address at the end. Alternatively, filter them through Sam or Sarah, and I'm sure they will pass those on to me. So what do I want to cover? I want to just set the scene a little. I've seen 3 clients in the last year. I've seen lots more than that, but 3 clients specifically who had confidence at the root cause of what was going on for them. Client number 1 came to see me. She's running a small business, a bookkeeping business, and she was struggling with networking. In fact, she was struggling with people. Those that she knew, she was really comfortable to be out and about with, but those that she didn't, just freaked her a bit. And she could walk into a room and freeze because she couldn't cope with all those people knowing what to say and how to say it. Client number 2 came because he was running an accountancy practice, and he had to go and ask his clients tell his clients, but was going in with the ask attitude that he needed to put their rates up, and he just wasn't comfortable with that. And one client in particular, he really struggled with. And third client, she is actually an accountant working in the tech arena, and her confidence is being undermined every day by a manager. Not deliberately, because people don't always think about you. They're doing it for their own purposes. But basically, this manager obviously has her things going on and was micromanaging her to the point that she's now questioning everything she does. What I want to show you here, that confidence reaches, and I'm only talking work here today, but it reaches into so many different areas and in so many different ways. And I think it's really important that the first thing you understand is that confidence is not something you have or don't have. And even when you have it, you can find situations where you lose it. What I want to talk to you today is to understand what's going on underneath that, and then some strategies for if you get caught and you need to do something quickly. So that's where we're going today. Hopefully that sounds interesting. So working with clients as I have, certainly full-time over the last 4 years, but over the last 20, I've worked part-time with them. The typical reasons that I see that mean that they are struggling with their confidence is that they're so busy people pleasing, they're not really focusing on themselves. So they're doing everything they can for somebody else. And that can have a real knock-on effect to their self-esteem, because they're not putting themselves first, be it their manager, their client, their colleague, even outside work, family and friends who come first, and they're trying to make everybody happy. Can't be done. I've got a lifetime of experience that says that cannot be done. So just be mindful. If you haven't already got it, a lack of self-worth can make a real difference to your confidence. It means that everybody around you looks, sounds, feels better than you. And consequently, you put them on a bit of a pedestal and yourself on the back seat. Confidence can also be knocked or drained away by a fear of a consequence. So you might be asked to do a presentation, or go and see a client who's been notoriously difficult, and you're worried about what that might turn out to be. And so your confidence is already threatened, and it will only need one thing for it to tip over. I think I've already mentioned the comparing. And when you're thinking about those times when your confidence is low, are you using the words have to, should, must, could? And there's a whole raft of them. They're really good indicators that something else is going on for you. Mostly that this isn't something you want to do. Not even if you have the confidence, just doesn't interest you. When you love something, when you enjoy something, your confidence is much stronger. And arguably, this is because it's a strength of yours. And when you're taken out of your strength area, what's happening is you're feeling exposed. And for anybody who read my article, confidence is all about feeling safe. So it's really important that you understand what's going on for you. Lack of boundaries. So many of us have got boundaries that nobody else knows about. It's only when they tread on them, cause them a problem or whatever, that we suddenly find that there is a problem for us, and we just let it go. We allow it to happen. And what that means is that people can start to take advantage of you, particularly if you're in the people pleasing or low self-worth category. These aren't the only ones, but they are the ones that I see the most often. So be aware of your boundaries. There is going to be a separate webinar at some point that maybe we can put on for here about boundaries and why they're important and how to set them. And of course, your confidence could be underpinned by the need to be needed. Whole raft of stuff behind that. It's not as straightforward as it sounds. It's not a needy thing. It's those people who want to help because it gives them something. It's about it potentially as a overall, it's a validation of why they're here. That's really high level and very globally put, because there can be a whole raft of different reasons. So whether any of those ring for you or sound right or look okay, it doesn't matter. If they are your thing, at least you are now one step closer to understanding why your confidence can disappear in a heartbeat. And there may be others. I am sure you are fully aware of the consequences of poor self-confidence. You can have difficulty with relationships, particularly if they're a strong person. You may well acquiesce to a lot of what they want, but it causes you some problems. Some of you will have developed behaviors that means that you've gone for perfection to make sure that from a confidence perspective, you are doing your absolute best to make sure that you're feeling good about what you do. That brings on a whole wealth of other things around not just the mental and emotional impact, but the physical impact, the toll that it can take on you to get things perfect. When you're not feeling as confident about yourself in one area, maybe more, you will play safe. You will avoid taking risks. And the problem with that is down at the bottom is the missed opportunities that might have allowed you to step up in some way, be that promotion or step up to become responsible for something or solve a problem. It doesn't matter. Confidence will get in your way of being the success that you potentially want to be. It may cause indecision. Have you ever thought about when you're indecisive? It could be a lack of confidence. It's not the only reason, but it's one of the key reasons why some people go into indecision, because they are experiencing fear of making a decision. They've not got enough facts. They don't have all the details. They're too closely related to make the decision. And obviously, over time, if you keep experiencing low self-confidence, you start to impact your own self-esteem, your belief in yourself, your abilities to do what you need to do. And that results in lack of achievement. And all of us human beings like to be able to achieve things and, you know, have markers in the sand that says that we are adding value somewhere. So it's really important that we understand what this confidence is doing. It's not just affecting you, by the way. One of the things I've not put there is that it could be affecting those around you in some way. Maybe they don't trust you. Ridiculous. I absolutely get it. But for them, the lack of confidence suggests, should I? It could also impact those who may also be feeling lack of confidence. One of the things I talked about during COVID is the fear factor. And actually, a lot of people were feeling fear, but it might not have been their own. Because what happens is, and I'll explain shortly, is that our unconscious mind, the part that we don't tap into all the time, think of the color of your front door, and you'll be able to do it probably just like that. Where was that information? It was deep in your mind, in your unconscious mind. And your unconscious mind is continually surveying around to make sure that you're safe. And if it feels or senses somebody else feeling fearful, lack of confidence, it will tune into that and assume there's something to be fearful or lack of confidence about. So be mindful. It's not a big thing because we just need to work on you, but I want you to understand how it might be impacting those that you care about. So the importance then, you know this as well. There's nothing I'm going to tell you here that you don't need to know, you don't know about. But equally like I've just talked about not having confidence impacting those around you, having confidence not only is good for you, your well-being, your outcomes, the possibilities and the opportunities, but it also resonates with those around you. People will trust you more. They will come to you more. They will look to you or want to be around you. So if you're one of those people who struggles with relationships, this can really make a big difference. Once you start to have this idea that you're as important as anybody in the office, in your world. In fact, you are the most important person in your world, because if you're not there, there is no world, let's be honest. So confidence can bring so many benefits, and it's understanding where you need to make the changes to help that come about. And if you've got any others, then do feed those through. It's really important to share so that we can learn from each other. Oh, I'm going to press on that. So what I wanted to do was spend a little time, if I get your permission to do that, to talk about what you need to know. And it's really important because this underpins the empowerment part, because it all starts with you. I've already mentioned the conscious versus the unconscious. Now, these are just models. So they're not, they're not black and white. There's lots of different measurements of what consciousness is, and the debate is still going on. But the conscious mind in this webinar is your prefrontal cortex, the place where you do your thinking. It's where you are able to do your day-to-day work, make good decisions, etc., etc. However, that cognitive mind is driven by the unconscious mind. And that unconscious mind stores all your memories, all your emotions, all your experiences, the facts, the figures, the color of your front door. All these things are stored away so that when you need them, you can tap into them. This unconscious mind is also primarily looking to make sure that you're kept safe and that you blend in. Because during development, and I just spent a short while on this, that was how it got you to where you are today. Between the ages of 0 and 7 or 8, if you've had children, or if you've been involved with children, they are just in the now. They are reacting, they are responding to their world, and their brain is just absorbing everything. And what's going on there is that the brain is checking everything that comes through. Is this a good experience? Did I survive? Or is it a bad experience? Oh, that hurt. That made me angry. That did something else. And what it does is it applies a biochemical marker. That biochemical marker is an emotion. So you have the early learning, and then you have the emotion, and they're tagged together. And the brain is doing this consistently. Even now, as you're older, it's still doing the same thing. But what it does is when the information comes through your 5 senses in those first 7 years, most of it is new. By the time you get to 7 or 8 and you're moving on to the age of 24, your brain has started to evolve this prefrontal cortex, which allows you to be more discerning, to understand the shades of colors and events, emotions. You can start to learn facts and figures, not just by rote, but by understanding what they mean. And this is a really key stage of development, and where I find a lot of issues come from, mostly from school and friends, but not entirely. What's happening here is that your brain is more focused. It's going to keep you safe, but now it wants you to fit in. It wants you to be part of something, because when you're part of something, when you fit in, you're safe. And this is why I often joke that when it comes to our development, it's all about this teenage years where we get involved in the, we choose the drink, drugs, rock and roll, whatever it is, our forte at that point. And then there's some people who don't get joined in, and that is already setting the foundations of who you're going to be. You've chosen your people, your community, and they will change, but it's about what you learn in that period, because the neural pathways are just growing exponentially. For those of you with teenagers, they really do need more sleep. After 24 up to 35, you're just developing and checking out what works, what doesn't. By the time you're about 35, they say that you are the person that you're going to be for the rest of your life. Now, that can be scary, but it's not entirely true, because you only have to have something big happen to you, and then suddenly you can make better decisions, or something exciting comes along and you can make better decisions. So we still can change and develop, and I think we're getting better at that. So when I talk about an empowerment model, my empowerment model, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in the next slide, the E stands for experiences. So when you're experiencing something, the behavior that comes forward for you in this webinar is a lack of confidence or low self-confidence, or it's knocked, whichever. The question is, what are you thinking about? Because your thoughts create the behaviors that create the experience. However, based on the model I've just told you, the thoughts are generally coming from an emotional content somewhere, because the unconscious is trying to keep you safe, and it doesn't know that you're shouting with the boss, having an angry client have a go at you. They don't know. The unconscious mind doesn't care who it is that's making the attack. It will then bring forward, do you remember the memory and the emotional content? It will automatically respond. It will bypass your conscious mind, and you have no say in it. And for those of you who are hijacked, you'll know emotionally, you'll know that. I don't talk about it a lot, but understanding what's important to you. I think that's really important as part of one of the things that I want you to think about. And the L just stands for those early learnings, wherever you may have learned them in your life. And I want you to know, and if you take anything away from this, I want you to know you have a right to be you. Not what somebody else wants you to be, not what you think you need to be, but just who you are. So much stress comes from being somebody else that we've learned to be. I do believe healthy boundaries will support you in your confidence journey, whatever that is, particularly once you understand what is important to you, the values I've talked about. And I've mentioned confidence can be transitory. So it's not wrong to have low self-confidence or lack of confidence. It would be wrong, I suppose, to sit with it and accept it, because that's not good for you. So the empowered confidence factors that I wanted to share with you, I've already talked about the experience. So the first thing I want you to be aware of is, where in your external world do you find your confidence less than? And maybe there's more than one area, but pick an area and focus on that. What are you doing? Are you are you finding yourself shrinking because we make ourselves smaller when we're under threat? Or are you finding that you are struggling with the way you're feeling? Maybe you start to struggle with what you're going to say, or you'll forget things. Just understand what your behaviors are. Important for one of the short-term things that you can do next. About your feelings and your thoughts. Now, I've linked those together because obviously they are so closely aligned. And once you've got the original learning and the emotion, what will happen is you will either make it bigger, hence the reason you might be suffering with confidence, or that you're changing as you're growing and things are just evolving. So understand, what were you thinking, or what are you thinking about yourself? Think about the comments I made earlier about people pleasing, or all those other factors that might just mean you're not being kind to yourself in some way. The feelings that are generated, what feelings do you have? I mean, the confidence is a feeling, it's also a state, but what feelings are with it? Is it fear? Is it sadness? Is it guilt? Could be a whole raft of different things. And those are just, labels. You choose whatever it is that for you. And if you can't label the emotion, and for many years I couldn't, just notice what you're experiencing, and that will tell you. And when you've got that and you understand more about what's important to you, about that part of your life, you can then start to check, what is it you believe about yourself? This self-awareness, just by questioning yourself, what do I need to learn? What do I need to change? How can I be better, different? What you're doing there, that self-awareness, will allow you to apply what you have got in abundance, is that thinking ability, the ability to analyze what's going on. And that will really enable you to start to step forward and change. For most people, they probably won't go below thoughts, and that's okay, providing you can shift what you need to do. Your thinking as accountants and bookkeepers is very strong, so utilize it. What is it you need to do differently? How can you change this? There's a lot going on out there about appreciation and gratitude. Love it, really important. But how about appreciating and grateful for you? I've already said in the previous slide that you've got a right to be you. You've got many attributes. You've got people in your life who love you. You've got friends who want to be with you. I want you to understand how you feel about yourself in those situations, and find all the things that you love about yourself, or at least appreciate and are grateful for. You'll be amazed at how many you could come up with. One of the things that your strong cognitive mind is possibly not helping you with is the fact that your negative self-talk. Oh, hello. We're really good at this as humans, that no other animal in the animal kingdom can do this except us for some reason. We will give ourselves a hard time before anybody else does. And I want you to start to notice that self-talk and start to focus on your positives, on changing that language in your head. And you're not going to stop immediately, but I want you to become more aware of it, because what happens is, when you say, oh, what an idiot, what a message are you sending back into that memory bank? into your data storage in your unconscious mind. What are you telling yourself? Let's not do that. So rather than I am an idiot, you could say that was an idiotic thing to do. So it's a behavior. It's detached from you. It's not you and who you are. Be really mindful. Would you talk to your children like that? Would you tell your best friend that? Just want you to be remembering that you are important in your world. And it's so important to make the changes. And you might only make 1 or 2 changes here and there, but they are really strong changes that you can begin to make that make the difference. So over a period of time, within 3 months, if you did some of this, you would start to notice the difference. The other thing I've talked about very early on is the fact that we've learned to be who we are. And the problem with that is that we are not ourselves, who we truly are at a deeper level. We are not honoring the things that we love to do. We are fitting in, remember, or doing the things that keeps us safe. I want you to be aware of what makes you happy. One of the clients I'm working with at the moment has been working in her business with her husband for some time now. And the problem is she doesn't love it. She's supporting him because that's an important value to her. And that's great. But she's not enjoying it. And her confidence and self-esteem has gone through the floor because she's feeling under pressure to be even better at what she's doing to prove her worth. And so her confidence has taken a bit of a nosedive. So do more of what makes you happy, certainly outside of work, if that's where you need to. But even in work, start to look at what you're doing and how you might be able to shift it, change it, possibly even delegate it if you're in the right position so that you can start to do more of what you love. And one thing from this side is, in order to feel more empowered, this self-awareness will also apply to those things that you feel may have been failure in the past. No, it's just learning. What can you learn from those times when it went less than? There's a lot more I could say on this, but I'm hoping I've given you a really good flavor that really it starts with you. Empowerment starts with you taking back control. And the only way you can do that is understanding what's not working for you right now. Use that incredible mind of yours to do the analysis, to dig deep and understand what's going on for you. And then you can start to make some changes. This next slide is more about the strategies that you can undertake to start to help you do these. Now, some of these you might be able to just keep doing, and what will happen is, remember, the brain learns. If you do them enough, and let me tell you, there's a lot of noise out there about how long it takes you to change a habit. Don't listen to them, because everybody changes at a different rate. Some people can change just like that. Others take longer. It takes as long as it takes. But one of the things you can do with these strategies is keep doing them, keep practicing them, because what happens is the brain starts to learn. And certainly it's a bit like a track through a forest that is overgrown. The more you start to use that track, the more it becomes clear, and then it becomes a pathway, and then it can become a road. So it's about the development and the practice of these strategies to help you build the confidence that you need. But it will take time. So the first thing you can do is to say to yourself, who do I know who is confident in the area that I'm not? And I've put model them. It's an NLP, neuro-linguistic programming tool, that allows you to close your mind and just for a moment become them. It's completely bizarre. I mean, you can do this for other things, but you can almost tap into what confidence looks like for them and feel it and experience it. Give it a go. And if you've got any problems, reach out to me. But or have a look on YouTube. They'll probably talk about modeling there. But what you're doing is your unconscious mind is tapping into what it is that they're doing so that you can start to benefit from it. It's pretending in you know, more childlike terms, pretending that you're them and behaving like them and carrying yourself like them and talking like them. It's such a simple technique. So if you're coming up to something, or you know, got a presentation to do, or you're going in to see a client, just think, who do you know would do that even better than you, and become them. Now, the only problem with that in the start is that you'll forget halfway through. But if it's that first impression, as they say, always makes a difference. So you can start to really begin to shift and change your physiology, and then the rest should just follow. The other thing to be aware of is how and where do you do confidence? I know every time I talk to my clients, they look at me as I say, what do you mean? I'm either confident or I'm not. Just check in if you're not feeling very confident. You will be experiencing it somewhere. I usually say the head, the body, or, you know, it should be say heart, actually, the head, the heart, or the gut, because those are our three intelligence centers. Completely different webinar for that, but they are our intelligence centers that will let us know what's going on. Some people feel their feelings in their gut, you know, they may have a gut feeling about something, or they start to churn when they get stressed. Other people will feel it in their heart, it feels constricted, and others just do confidence in their head. What you can do when you understand where it is, you can tune into it. You can change that sensation by applying a color or a shape or movement, and then just shifting and changing it in some way to feel better. Change the color of that confidence, change the movement, change the shape. The unconscious mind does not talk in words. It talks in imagery and metaphor and color and sound. So it's about using the communication of the unconscious mind so that you can make the changes, and you might just find you can reduce that confidence. This is a great one. This is tap into a time when you felt confident and really put yourself in that space. So for example, maybe you won a race at school, or when you got your exam results, or you qualified. How were you feeling right then? That's what you tune into. That's what you tap into, and just notice what confidence is like for you. And the more you can tap into that, practice it every day, perhaps when you're in the shower, when you're cleaning your teeth, the more you do this, you're building those neural pathways that will mean that it's there more easily, more effortlessly. You'll just need to remember, and you'll be there. Not necessarily straight away, because it'll be a bit cumbersome to start with, but power through, because what will happen is you will have empowered yourself to tap into a time when you really felt confident. And the more you do it, the more you can, and the more you can, the more you do, boom, straight away. Amazing. Obviously, there's the traditional sides of making confidence part of who you are: standing confidently, speaking more slowly, because what will happen is you're giving the impression of being confident, dressing in something that makes you feel confident. Notice your physiology. When you're confident, you tend to have your shoulders down and stand tall. For most people, it may not be the same for you. But whatever happens, when you come to confidence and the strategies to help you, I want you to think breath work. Now, this is really important, because one of the things we do not do is breathe properly. Crazy. I absolutely know. But so many of us breathe high in the chest and short breaths, whereas it's more important that we can breathe deep into the stomach, really taking in a few deep breaths beforehand, before an event, before what you're going to do, and slow the breath right down. Now, this is a bit of a body hack, because when you're doing that, the brain's like, what's going on? and the body's going, oh, everything must be okay, because it's tapping into what's called the parasympathetic nervous system, which allows you to calm down. How amazing is that? Just by breathing. So if you are going to do something, take a couple of minutes to breathe, to get yourself centered physiologically. Tap into that time when you do remember being confident. And if you didn't, do you know somebody that you can model? And notice where you feel it so that you can tune into it quickly. And if you can, I've mentioned using color. You can use a shape, but color is a really easy way for your unconscious mind to tap into what you want. And that color can be something you're wearing, or maybe you've got some jewelry, a ring for the guys, whatever you need. Just see that that color is around you so that you can start to just tell your unconscious mind, I'm feeling confident, I'm feeling confident. And I know it sounds bizarre, but the more you do it, the more the unconscious mind learns. That's really what we're all about, is the strategies that can help you in the short term, but become the strategies of the long term, that so you barely have to think about it, because there will come a time when you don't need to go through this. You'll go to a situation and it will just go straight to where you need it to go. Everybody's different, remember. Some people will get there quickly and some people won't. Some people need extra help just to make sure that they're clearing those other early things that are causing them a problem. Some people won't. And there is no right and there is no wrong, just who you are, and it's okay. So before I come to an end, in fact, I will just go back if I can, because what I want to talk to you is about my three clients. So my first client found that by the time she'd finished working with me, she was out networking. What I loved about it was we used her time in an orchestra to do it. Oh, hello. That's amazing. She was confident in the orchestra because she was part of a community and she understood that and she could talk to them. We tapped into it and she learned how she could use that to walk into a room, scan the room to see any friendly faces and go and talk to them. Nothing heavy, just how are you? How did you get here? What's the weather like? You know, tell me more about you. Pushing the focus off her so that she could start to warm to whoever she was. And if they didn't have anything that she could resonate with that was common, thank you very much. Hope to speak to you soon. Move on to the next friendly face. And she's rocking it, basically. So I'm very proud of her. My next client, who had trouble with asking his clients to pay more, he was doing really well and felt comfortable. Most of his clients were quite friendly and the fear was all his. His low confidence was all his. Once he realized the value that he was bringing his clients, once he understood that, you know, he could justify, if you like, what he was doing and why he was putting his prices up, none of them quibbled except one, but we'll come to him in a moment. And he was able to increase his rates between 10 and 20%, depending on where they were and when they'd last had an increase. And his confidence was soaring until this one client. So remember what I said, confidence can be transitory. And he said, I'm really dreading this one. He's an angry client and, you know, he'll just argue and fight all the way. And I said, okay. And what we did is we worked through that for him so that he didn't have to do everything all at once. He did what he did, talked about the accounts for the year, what was going on, and then said, we need to have a conversation about how this is working because I'm finding that it's not working for me right now. Boundaries. And he didn't want to have the conversation then. And he said, can we set up another meeting to do that? The client did. It wasn't threatening. It was just, we're going to have a conversation. There was something that they could do separately. They could both prepare for. It took 2 or 3 meetings, I'll be honest, but he did it. And he increased this man's income, you know, the amount he paid by nearly 50% because he was paying so far under what he was using. Interesting. So he was very happy. And then my last client, I got a manager who's undermining her. I've told her the same as I'm saying to you, start with yourself. Look at where you can start to really recognize what you're doing. Who in the business does respect you? Understand more about what's going on. Is there something that they can contribute to your one-to-one, your appraisal, whatever it is, that says, you know, they really do respect your time, and make sure that that is promoted. Begin to stand your ground. Those boundaries can be even more important when you're feeling that you're not contributing in the way you want. Amazing. So as I wrap up here now, hopefully this has given you some really good information that you can start putting into practice today, not tomorrow, not next week, today. And once you do, you may have some questions. Please do feel free to book a call with me. I'm more than happy to have a 30-minute call, no obligation, to see where you are and what you might need help with. Alternatively, you just might want to keep in contact, in which case just reach out, and I'll put my email on at the end here so that you can just, you know, keep in contact with my newsletters or what's coming up or some of the work that I'm doing. But I want to end this just by saying you have a right to be you. Start owning you and being aware of where you're not honoring who you really are, and really develop that empowered confidence that's there. You just need to tap into it more. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope that has been valuable.